He can't, coming! He can!
Toronto are heading for Super League.
2019 Betfred Women's Super League champions, the Leeds Rhinos. Absolutely fabulous.
Saints are champions of Super League again.
Hello and welcome to Betfred's Last Tackle, our rugby league show, and I'm delighted to be joined by Paul Sculthorpe, who's won the grand final on 4 occasions, and we've got a very special guest this week. We have got the Chief Executive of the Rugby Football League. It's Ralph Rimmer. Gents, thanks for joining us, but Scully, I'm going to have to start with you. Just tell everyone what you did this weekend.
Yes, so I obviously put myself up for a challenge this weekend, obviously while stuck in at home, alongside a good friend, Ewan Dowes. And we were raising money for individual charities. So I was raising for the Steve Prescott Foundation, and Ewan was raising money for Joining Jack and MND, for obviously for his good friend Rob Burrow. So we set ourselves a challenge, obviously with the 2.6, national initiative at the moment, helping the charities, obviously who was suffering with the corona as well. To do 26 hours on a watt bike constant from 6 a.m. Saturday morning to 8 a.m. Sunday morning.
Are you bonkers?
Yes, yeah. I thought it was bonkers about 20 hours in. It was a tough challenge. It was mentally, there were a few dark places on the way, but I mean, I think between us, we've raised about 15 grand for the charities, and do you know what? Really, really enjoyed it.
And just tell everyone, what bike's not normal, is it? You've got, resistance, etc. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, a few of the players, obviously, we had a lot of the players join us on Zoom all the way through the ride, and obviously they could only see the torso, and they said, "What are you actually riding?" So when we said we're all riding watt bikes. And obviously Jamie Jones Buchanan as well from Rugby AM was joining us along the way as well. They couldn't believe that we were doing it on watt bikes, because it's a constant resistance, but it's something we all three of us do quite a lot of, and as I said, thoroughly enjoyed it. Covered 806 kilometres over the 26 hours. Wow,
that is impressive. And Ralph, this is just one of the many things that the Rugby League community, the Rugby League family have been doing during this crisis.
I think that's right, Mark. And the Rugby League family is the way I always term it, because it isn't just about, great players like Scully who do fantastic things like that on a regular basis, but it's also about the professional players that go and work in the community. You've got players, working at the food banks. You've got them working alongside the NHS. You've got them representing their clubs and their communities in many different ways. And then you've got the likes of Johnny Vegas, who's another one of our family, of course, and he's going out and doing wonderful things. And then in addition to all that, you've got all the volunteers that are actually still working on behalf of their communities that belong to the community clubs as well. It's, you should never forget any element of our Rugby League family. I'm very, very proud to be anywhere near it. It's an amazing set of people.
And what did you do, Ralph, this weekend?
Oh, I can't believe you did that. Cannot believe that. Yes. I did a few planks this weekend. Yeah. Heads are going to roll for that one, Mark. I can tell you.
I can't tell you who sent it to me, Ralph. Okay. I'll protect their identity. So you did a few, because obviously it should have been the London Marathon this weekend. So that's why Scully did 26 miles and you did 26 planks. Is that right?
I did 26 1-minute planks, and then I managed to do 26,000 steps with the dogs. And that's enough for an old and decrepit man for me, I tell you.
But as you mentioned, the Rugby League family have really, really pulled together. And look, there's plenty of people in Rugby League that are working on the front line in the NHS as well, Ralph.
And I mentioned that earlier. You got people like Amy and Chris Kendall that are out there working week in, week out Chris in a voluntary capacity and Amy in a full-time capacity. and they are, they're doing things that we're all just in awe of. They're protecting us, they're protecting our nation, and over the last few weeks, I've seen many acts of altruism and some great pieces of humanity, and we are a great rugby league community. I think we show it more than anybody else, but nevertheless, the rest of the nation's pulling together too, and that's important for us all.
Scott, are you proud to be an ex-rugby league player when you heard all these stories? I mean, look at Benny Westwood from Warrington. He's been taking bacon sandwiches to Warrington Hospital. There's just so many stories throughout rugby league.
There is, mate. There is, but I think as Ralph says, it's pretty much the norm as well for rugby league. I think we've always led the way in looking after our own and helping people. I think the ethics and the culture within our game, and something you grow up with, and it's certainly at testing times like this is where we pull together. But it's not just doing that. It's, you see the stuff on social media and just people trying to inspire other people as well, and you see all the community clubs coming together doing the videos and just trying to get through it and help each other through it.
Ralph, I know you're in daily contact with the government. Rugby league fans watching this will be thinking, right then, come on, when's rugby league back? Have we got any indication yet?
No. Clearly, there are different avenues that we're exploring, some of which are behind closed doors. Clearly, we're looking at any option to get players back on the field. We have a broadcaster who's very loyal to us, so two broadcasters are very loyal to us, and we'd like to satisfy their needs as well. We'd like to satisfy the needs of all the fans and our commercial partners as well. So we know it's imperative they get back on. I do personally think that sport and rugby league in particular will be a part of what drags us out of all this. I think it's really important to the nation's psyche. It's something we've all missed dreadfully. It probably touches in all reality more people than anything else in the country. And rugby league, we have a very passionate supporter base, and we want to get out there and entertain them and get out there and play ourselves. So we're pushing very hard. There are lots of pressures on. It would be folly of me to give you a date, but I can assure you there is absolutely no stone unturned at this moment in time, and we will. This is our 125th year. I'm absolutely determined that we will really get out of this lockdown and punch the air and celebrate the fact that once again we've demonstrated how resilient a sport we are and how important we are to our communities. We don't want to be whimpering out of this. We want to make a song and dance about it.
But Ralph, when you do return, it's got to be appropriate, hasn't it? It's got to be appropriate at the time. And I know that's why you're talking to the government most days, aren't you?
Yeah, well, there's kind of three things we're doing currently in the middle of it all. We are, as you say, I'm speaking to the government probably 3 or 4 times a day, submitting document after document after document. And DCMS have been fantastic, and we've spoken to many politicians. They've all been very helpful to us along that way. So trying to find some support for the game is massively important to our clubs and our spectators and our community clubs as well. And Sport England have been outstanding in some of the support they've provided. Secondly, we are in constant communication with all of our stakeholders. So they are clubs, community clubs, all of the rugby league family that we've just described, getting information out to them, making sure they're aware of what's going on and what the possibilities are in future. And we've sent a questionnaire out to everybody as well, all of the myriad of different groups we are, to get their opinion on how they think we should form things going forward. And part of that, of course, is international. And I speak with the NRL on a regular basis as well. And then finally, we've got a plan for how we come out of this lockdown. And, as you suggest, there are many different pieces of modelling all based upon the length of lockdown, which of course we don't know. So all of that is currently sat in preparation, waiting to get the kind of okay on that's the date, which will largely be government led. Then we can go to the stakeholders who we've spoken to a lot of and say, right, this is the model that fits. And you're right, it will be imperfect. It will not be the season structures that we've had before. We're not going to play all the games that are missing in all reality. And whatever comes out will change shape. But it's important that we get to some finals with some integrity, produce some fantastic rugby league action in amongst it all, keep the clubs solvent, and also look after player welfare issues in all this. So those are the kind of things we're balancing off.
I can speak as, as representing the sponsors, Ralph, that your team have been very, very good with the communication, have kept us up to date, which has been fabulous. Are you working very, very closely with the Super League as well at the moment? Because obviously we realise there's been this kind of divorce, but are you working very closely with the Super League?
Yeah, I'm on a call with the Super League clubs most weeks. And they are, look, as I say to all the tables that I sit at, everybody has to give to make this work. There's no way we're going to come out a perfect solution with everybody. And that means everybody's got to be heavily involved in the discussions and also kind of understand that mentality, because in doing this modelling, people have to be able to give a little bit to make it work and understand that we're all doing it. And if we all do it, we will find a solution for 2020. We'll travel on to 2021 and we'll go on and do what we do best, and we'll entertain people properly. But it will be an imperfect solution, and the only way we can get people to work with us is to communicate with them regularly. So yes, Super League's a very big part of that.
I think we appreciate your honesty as well, that people might not see it as the perfect solution, but you are going to try and get the show on the road when you can. Now, a lot of fans listening to this will be worried about their future of the club, because obviously this has had a huge financial impact. And look, when we do return with Rugby League, it's going to be behind closed doors, isn't it? Let's be honest as well. So, people are worried about the future of the clubs. Can you give any reassurances, Ralph?
Yeah, of course. What I would say is, I said behind closed doors is certainly an option we're looking at. It's complicated, and there are some pretty heavy conditions attached to it. We're on working groups with government on it, so it's not as simple as opening up the doors and letting people, just the players, come in and play. There's some pretty heavy protocols involved in it, which we're working on a regular basis. So yes, that's a possibility. The efforts I'm making with government are clearly there to try and ensure that all the clubs get through to the next era, whatever that may be. And all of this is a kind of a lily pad to make sure we get through safely. But again, something that I do issue as a kind of a directive, as some guidance when we're sitting around these tables. Absolutely, all these stakeholders, all these people who we know and love so well, they want to look after their own clubs. They want the best for their own clubs. But what I do say is, it won't be perfect. You have to give a little bit. There are people out there dying. The nation's health is the most important thing here. And if we can keep that focus on that, then that kind of puts things into perspective. And the rest we will make work and will get us through to the far side of it. So, there's a big picture in all this. Rugby League clearly has been running through my veins since I was born. And I want to look after it more than anything else. But we've just got to keep things into perspective and look after ourselves as a sport, but more importantly, the nation.
Scully, if I bring you in, you're listening to Ralph there, nodding your head.
Yeah, I think obviously what Ralph says there, it's a worldwide epidemic, and we have got to put things in perspective. And totally agree with Ralph. It's not going to be a perfect situation and solution for everybody. People have got to give and take, and I think if everybody sticks together and pulls together, we get through it and we get the game back up and running where we were before. And there's a lot of good things coming up in the future. That, like you say, I know I speak to friends and family members who, I think this has really made people realise how much we do love our sport and rugby league in particular. So it could get them people back on them terraces, who've maybe not been there for a while because, they realise what they're missing.
Ralph, I tell you what I worry about as well as a rugby league fan. You talk about the grassroots as well. I worry that rugby league, as we mentioned early on, is so much part of these communities. And, if anything, happens to the rugby league clubs, it's not just a sport that's affected. It would be really affect the community, because I know like Warrington go and do loads of coaching at the local schools. Salford, I know Salford go into loads of schools and do coaching and teach about healthy eating and stuff like that. It's massive the impact that rugby league clubs have on their areas.
And that's right. I mean, that's kind of been through the narrative, which is completely sincere, that I've used with government. They do understand, and say that their response has been fantastic. The reason I can speak to them 3 or 4 times a day and have to submit a document is because of their level of engagement. They understand the importance of, and it, you know, clearly the Super League clubs are massively important, but the Championship League One clubs, and then the community clubs, as you describe, and then the foundations that do the work in all those clubs are the DNA of those communities. Absolutely, they run through them. They give far more back than just the physical well-being of the players. There's a lot of mental well-being that develops as a result of it. There's a sense of community and a sense of community pride that builds around that. All the volunteering that exists around that gives people a sense of purpose. You know, last year we did, Manchester Metropolitan University delivered a report on our behalf called the Rugby League Dividend, which just described exactly how much this sport gives to those communities. And you're right, if any element of it, any element of that rugby league family is going to fail, then it's going to really impact upon them. And it's my responsibility currently to make sure that doesn't happen. And believe me, I'm applying myself as hard as I can.
Ralph, you've made massive strides being inclusive. I mean, with the learning disability rugby league, the wheelchair rugby as well. Well, the Women's Super League as well has gone from strength to strength as well. Are you confident that all these elements of the game can come back as well?
I am. I think that makes us the family that we are. In my kind of doctrine is, if you want to play rugby league, we have to find a way of making you do it. And some of those derivatives that you've spoken of are a huge part of what we do. I've said it on many occasions, you know, my best rugby league occasion of the year probably is the Grand Day out in Blackpool, and it's at Stanley Park, and we take tag and touch and physical disability rugby league and learning disability rugby league and masters rugby league, and we take them all to one wheelchair rugby league. We take them all to one venue, and we play there all weekend, and it's just a massively uplifting experience. It's just I drive away from that each time I go just thinking, isn't this sport the most fantastic thing ever?
And I'm going to bring Scully in again. I know you do a lot of work behind the scenes in the community at St Helens, and it is fantastic that there's wheelchair rugby. The women's game's doing really well in St Helens, isn't it? And, you know, the learning disability rugby league as well. It's great to be involved in such an inclusive sport.
It is such an inclusive sport, and we've just seen it grow and grow over the years. You know, and I'm so lucky to be in the position that I'm in. You know, and certainly on the England side of things as well, and working with the EPU, so working across the youth, the academy, the women, the wheelchair, and then obviously the seniors. I've literally just got off a Zoom meeting with the coaches in the England girls, doing some video stuff, some review from the Origin. So, you know, while we can, you know, make the most of the time that we've got to keep improving and keep developing, because next year is a big year for rugby league, obviously with the Home Nations World Cup as well. So it's going to be a massive year, and you know, if we as coaches and players can keep everything rolling, ready to go when that button is pressed to allow us to do so, then all good.
Ralph, Scully's just mentioned England. I've got to ask you. You said you've been talking to NRL as well. Looks like the NRL Grand Final is going to be the 25th of October. So, is there any decision on the Ashes series?
No, not as yet. Clearly, I was aware that what their plans were, and they kept us up to date. I probably speak to them a couple of times a week. No, there's still room for the Ashes. I'm not being naive enough to say that it's not under some threat, because clearly we have to see how our season may roll out in that as well. You know, we have some big blue ribbon events this year. We have the Challenge Cup, obviously. We have the Grand Final, and we have the Ashes series. So lots to look forward to. But you know, I come back to the point I first made, really, which is, you know, everybody's got to come to the table and give and make this work, whatever it looks like. And you know, the RFL has to be a part of that if required as well. So, you know, it would hurt. Clearly, it would, but it's on the table along with everything else. We'll come up with the best solution.
Ralph, really, appreciate your honesty. Look, we've got an England great with us, Ralph, in Scully. I just thought let's finish on a positive and let's look ahead. I'm getting more and more excited about the World Cup next year, Ralph.
I'm hitting the ceiling every day with excitement about that. It will be a World Cup. I know it'll be the best World Cup that's ever been put on. I absolutely know that. We'll be running all the World Cups in parallel with one another, which has never been done before. As Paul's just mentioned, he's a mention of the England Performance Unit, and that means the men's seniors and the women's senior, and also the wheelchair. They're all a part of that umbrella, and he's working across all of them. And I know how vitally important it is that we win World Cups. We set the England Performance Unit up with Kevin 1st of January 2018. And that was purely with the intent of winning trophies in 2021, because if you win World Cup trophies on home soil, that means a lot to everybody else. So we spoke about the importance of to the nation's psyche of the sport. Well, winning World Cups will certainly give everybody a lift as well. And I'm really excited about it. And then the work has been going on for quite some time. And I'm really confident we're going to win some silverware.
That is great to hear. And Ralph, just as a final question, I realise I've bombarded you over the last few minutes, but really appreciate you coming on. I know the Rugby League fans will have appreciated you coming on as well. So basically, at the moment, it's watch this space. There's no announcement. You're talking to the government daily. And when you can tell the fans what's going on, you will do.
That's right, and I would implore them to use all the platforms we've set up to look at us, to stay in touch with the sport, to remain a part of the family. All of this works if everybody sticks in together, and the fans are a massive part of that, as are the commercial partners, Mark. Betfred have been fantastic as well, and we're in regular contact with them and many of our other partners as well. We are the Rugby League family. We will get through this together. So just stick with us, and we'll come up with a solution that will suit us and get us through to the next era of Rugby League.
Well, Ralph, thanks for joining us. And Scully, what an amazing effort. 26 hours on a watt bike. Can you feel your legs yet?
I'm not too bad today, though, Mark. Yeah, I was a little stiff yesterday. Obviously, finished yesterday morning. So it was a tough 24 hours, but got through it, and feeling back to normal today.
Well done, mate. We always do a man of the match. We'll make you the man of the match this week, and we'll put a donation in there as well on behalf of Betfred. So thanks very much to Paul Sculthorpe for joining us. What an amazing effort there for the Steve Prescott Foundation. 26 hours on a watt bike. I think I struggle with 26 minutes. But anyway, gents, thanks for joining us. And Ralph, we really appreciate your honesty. So you've been watching Betfred's Last Tackle.
Sensational from Blake Austin.
He can't, coming, he can!
Toronto are heading for Super League.
2019 Betfred wins Super League champions. The Leeds Rhinos. Absolutely fabulous.
Saints are champions.